So welcome everybody, welcome to Consultants Table. This is the final Consultants Table of the year and we're really glad you all can join us. Thank you very much for being here. I really encourage you to stay engaged and stay for the full session because Adele is one of the greatest speakers I've seen in all my years in the industry. She's got a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of passion. She needs very little introduction, but before I do, I'd really like to thank our Captain's Table consultants who are also our Captain's Table sponsors, who are also our Consultants Table sponsors. And you can see them there up on your screen. We've got Job Adders, Ayers Group A Positive, DigiPro and William Buck, all very knowledgeable in the way they contribute to the industry, and they've got a lot to share with you. So if you ever get a chance to build a relationship with them, please do, because they're always happy to share information on our great recruitment industry. And so I'll now hand over to Adele. Adele, thank you very much for joining us. Really looking forward to your session on getting back in front of clients. It is such a critical part of recruitment, to be building relationships. Face-to-face obviously is the way to go when we can, and really keen to see your session today. So thank you very much, Adele, and over to you.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Tony, and thanks for the introduction. Welcome, everybody. And as Tony said, if you missed it at the start, I really appreciate if you could put your cameras on. Feel free to mute yourselves, but please leave your cameras on. I want to try to make this as interactive as possible. You've paid to be here. Make use of it yourselves. And I will be asking you some questions along the way. And you'll be asking me as well. So please go ahead and pop your cameras on if you're able to. I'd like to start off just by getting a bit of an understanding of experience in the room, if I may. So I'm just wanting to make sure I'm tailoring things to the right level. So if you have more than 10 years experience, can you just pop your hand up, whether that's digitally or physically? So more than 10 years. Okay. And then pop your hand down as I go down in years. So 8 years, if you've had 26 years. Yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, and newbies. Anyone under 12? Yay, okay, great. I knew there were some of you in there and I wanted to identify who they were. Thank you for sharing that. And that certainly, as I said, helps me just make sure. So we've actually got quite a mix. There's a number of us there, as you would have seen in that 10 plus category, but some newbies in the room as well. So welcome to everybody. I'm just sharing the screen. If you could just give me a thumbs up, somebody, when you can see that, that would be great. Excellent, fantastic. Thank you so much for that. So we're going to go through today a presentation on getting in front of clients. I guess it's a client visit presentation, but I'm wanting to tailor it to the current situation, the current market, and where we're at, how clients are responding to us. So we're going to go through a lot of information today. If you've been on one of my sessions before, Tony normally says this: I go fast, don't start replying to an email, don't take a phone call, don't start texting, you're going to miss out on content. I go fast through this, and that's on purpose because I want you to come along with me, and there's some really great resources that I'll be offering as well if you stay on till the end. So those of you still on at the end will get access to a free resource that's highly valuable as part of this topic. So I want to talk about the post-lockdown landscape, and we're not through this. I know there's possibly, I hope not, but there may be further restrictions that we may face, but we're probably for the most part past the big lockdown phases that we've all seen across the country in different states. So what does that mean in the business sense? What does that look like currently in the market for us? We've got hybrid working models, both for ourselves, as we know, and our clients. So our clients are working sometimes in the office, sometimes at home, as are we in a lot of cases, or sometimes completely at home, sometimes now back in the office. Lucky if you're able to do that for wherever you might be. It's only just recently, I'm in Melbourne, so only just recently occurred. There are fears and concerns about contact. This is a real thing. Some people are physically worried about, being in close proximity to you and the social distancing requirements and the requirements to masks. And some of this is our fear as well. Who's not been sure about whether you're supposed to wear a mask into your client side or into, is there been doubt? Yeah, thanks for sharing, Emma. I'm the same. I'm like, I kind of put it on and then I hope to God when I get there, they allow me to take it off, because I'm like, I don't know how you pitch from here, from here up, you know, how do you sell yourself with just your eyes? So I understand these things, you know, I get that it's a confusing time and the clients are not sure, you're not sure. And this is the current landscape, as I said. Hospitality venues and their restrictions, you know, would have been very easy to invite a client out to lunch or out to a coffee or a cafe or meet somewhere, but you've got to take into account, you know, are these places open? Can you sit inside? Can you sit outside? What's the capacity? What's the limit? All of these things that we never had to consider before. We used to be able to just get up and go. So as I said, it's a really different landscape post this lockdown, or while we're in the transition out of lockdown. And I think we've developed a video habit in a way. Isn't it really interesting? And those of you that have been in recruitment from the start of COVID, you know, through now, will remember when we first had to transition over to Zoom or to video interviews, it was slow. It was hard going. We kind of went, it was really awkward. Yeah, oh God, we're going to do a video, got to do the video thing. And isn't it interesting in such a short period of time that it's actually become a habit? We're just so used to automatically now booking a meeting, and it's automatically a Zoom meeting or a video meeting or a Teams meeting, isn't it? We just automatically think that way because it's been habit forming. But I want you to think about breaking that, and I want you to break it now. That's what today is about. That's the overarching message, is that we've got to break away from the habit that we've created in just going straight to Zoom. Or to video. And I'll talk a bit more about, I know that there are benefits to it, but it's become a bit of a habit more than anything. Some people have just forgotten. Somebody made an appointment with me this week and automatically sent me the Zoom. And then I said, can we meet face to face? And they said, oh yeah, actually we can. I forgot, you know, it just became habit. And that's the current landscape. So in that, the good side of it, the good that's come out of having been in lockdown and moving to a more video-based kind of way of working, is it saves us time. We know that, right? We know there's no travel between meetings. You don't have, you know, the same delays. You're not sitting waiting for somebody to come into a meeting, having to travel back to the office. So there's certainly saving time and energy. In some cases, your client's more likely to accept a visit because it's video. Do you find that? Does anyone find that people are more flexible or open to that because they're saying, oh yeah, it's just, you know, half an hour of a video meeting? We've made meetings 30 minutes now. Think about that too. When you make a physical meeting, well, we used to make physical meetings, it was an hour in the diary. Yeah, those of you pre-COVID will remember that. Yeah, now it's 30 minutes. So clients are more likely to go, yeah, I can spare you 30 minutes. So that's some of the positive side of it. You can get multiple attendees. It's easier. Right? If somebody's not in the office at your client site that day and they're at home and your other client, you can still see all of them at once. You don't have to wait till everybody's in the office. I get that. The convenience of that is really attractive. And you can certainly fit in more meetings a day. I've started to go back out and visit clients, and I can't get to see as many as I would if I was just doing them all as 30-minute video calls, one after the other. We know this, okay? It takes more time and energy, as I've said, and you can only fit in fewer meetings. But I want you to think about that. We want to now go for quality and depth. The video meetings that we've been doing are surface level in some cases. As I said, how much do you really know in 30 minutes? How many times have you been cut off from the video, you know, like, all right, I've got to go, got the next meeting popping up, you know, and it ends. And people wouldn't do that usually face to face. You sit in the meeting, they give you that time and the meeting ends naturally. So yes, we can do more in a day, but we want to do less actually and have deeper, more quality-based conversations with clients. Okay, my slide isn't moving. There we go. The bad side, that's the good side I mentioned. The bad side of the current landscape is just one element, and it's trust. It's very, very difficult to build trust in a two-dimensional way. And then in a one-dimensional way, your phone, right? If you try to build a relationship with a client over the phone, it's really difficult. We think video is that one step better. It is, but there's still that other option, obviously, of face-to-face. You want to get back in front of your clients. So you'll notice I'm starting off by handling kind of your objections to or your difficulties in getting back out in front of the clients. We'll handle clients' objections as well in a moment. But the bad of it is that you just cannot build trust in the same way as you can, because this is about relationship building. You cannot build trust in the same way as you would face-to-face. That's just a given. Just have a look at this message, and I'm just trying to reinforce this. You sound different from your text message. Video versus face-to-face is the equivalent of a text versus a phone call. Think about it that way, yeah? So this is a bit tongue-in-cheek, of course. You sound different from your text message. You can't hear somebody's tone in a text message, of course, unless they put, I don't know, lots of emojis and you know, explanations of their emotion in there, but you don't get the emotion around it. You just get the words. And until you speak to them on the phone, then obviously you get tone and you get the emotion in there. So the same thing, video is like sending a text message versus the face-to-face meeting. There are elements of communication that are so subtle that you cannot get from a video. Those of you who pre-COVID know exactly what I'm talking about. Think about just eye contact alone. Okay, you cannot make eye contact with somebody in the same way you would in real life as you do on video, because I can't look you in the eye. When I want to look you in the eye, I have to look down, you know, at your video, and when I want to look like I'm looking you in the eye, I have to look up here at my camera. Okay, I can't look at your face and ascertain your emotions at the same time as look you in the eye, which is what we naturally do when we're in the same room together. I look you in the eye and I could see whether you're perceiving what I'm saying in a positive or negative way. So that's the difference I'm trying to show you. Think about it this way. Would you buy a car without driving it? Anyone ever done that? Anyone bought a car without driving it? It's pretty risky, right? Or would you buy it over a Zoom call? What if the salesman said, oh, look, you know, I'll you know, take the camera out and I'll show you, or I'll just show you pictures of it, or let's have a Zoom call and we'll do the deal. You'd never do that. You would never do that, right? Think about that as an individual level. Now think your client is spending, I don't know, depends on what market you work in, might be a few thousand, might be tens of thousands. They might be spending $10,000, $20,000 with you. They're not going to make that decision with a Zoom call. Think about it. Your ability to sell to the client is diminished by the fact that you're trying to build a relationship in a two-dimensional fashion. That's what you need to get past about why we need to get back out there. And I want you to start by doing a stock take of your clients. This is the perfect time to do this. If you're finding things are starting to slow because of Christmas, this is a perfect timing to do this. If you're new and you're wanting to have a look at how do I go about this, where do I start? If you've been in it for a while and you've found clients have shifted and changed over recent times, this is a great time to do the stock take. So who are the clients that you have great relationships with? This is the 3 questions you should ask yourself. Who are the clients you have great relationships with? Mark those down first. Who can you build better relationships with? And who should you break up with? You're kind of rating your clients in those categories, and think about that, okay? So who are the clients that you have great relationships with? That's the first identification. What does that look like? Who have I started with, or who could I get to know better? So you've got your kind of A grade, your B grade. But then this third category is really important in this current market. And that is, who should I break up with? Who are the clients that are treating you as a supplier in a transactional fashion, who are, not returning your call, urgent, and then when you start sending resumes, they don't return the call. They ghost you, yeah? Who are the clients you would rather not work with? And start categorizing them this way, because this is where, as I said, remember, you need to spend more time with better clients. You need to have a depth of conversation and relationship with clients. So you're going to need to have fewer of them. You can't see as many clients as you were seeing before, or as frequently, perhaps. You can still see them. Maybe you'll drop the ones who you want to break up with to a less frequent contact. So start by that stock take. Write down those, questions and put your clients into those categories. That for me is the first start of it. And really the art of the client visit has really been lost. It's really interesting. We've become used to, as I said, that whole kind of idea of sitting in a room with somebody and really listening, being present. How many of you, this is why I ask you to put you guys to put cameras on, how many of you are doing something else right now? How many of you are checking your phones, checking your emails? You look, we got used to talking to the side of someone's face. That's become, imagine I invited you into my office and I sat there and did work while you sat and talked. You would never do that face-to-face with somebody. And yet that's become perfectly acceptable in this market, right? It's wrong. It's wrong. So the art's being lost, the art of actually sitting in the room with somebody and being present and properly listening and having that conversation. A client visit's value is that it helps you build credibility. If you build credibility with your client, you'll increase your ability to persuade them. Your persuasion skills improve with that client, and that allows you to close the deal. When the client trusts you, when you have absolute client trust, then they go with your recommendations. Those of you that put your hand up at the 8 and 10 plus years, tell me, have you got clients that you could ring up and say, I've got a great candidate, I want you to see them tomorrow, and they'll say yes? Resume unseen, profile unseen, they'll say yes. Have you got those? That's where you want to work towards, yeah? You want to work towards clients that trust your judgment, trust your recommendation, and they'll see your candidates without having to go through the whole idea of putting a profile together and sending it off and waiting out and, and going through the process with everybody else. So that's the importance of the client visit. I can't stress this one enough. It's about building your credibility. And again, you can only do parts of this by being face-to-face with somebody. You can't do this to its full extent on video. I should have said, are there any questions along the way? As I said, I move pretty fast, but if you've got questions, feel free to pop them in the chat and I'll be able to answer them at the end. I'll leave some time at the end to ask and answer questions and have a bit of a conversation. And I've got think about your questions. I've got a very exclusive resource for the person who asks me the best question. So at the end of the session, if you've asked a question, I'll rank those at the end and I'll decide who's asked me the most interesting question. And you're going to get a free resource that's going to help you even further with this process. Now, objections from clients. I want to address this. Having difficulty getting out to the client site because, again, they're in the habit of video, or they're in the habit of saying, oh, we don't need to see you. It all worked through COVID. We'll be fine. We don't need you to come out. There's a whole list of reasons here that I've given you that you should be able to use one or many of them to get out to see the client. Many of your clients will have new offices or changes to those offices. They may have changed to a smaller office. They may have subleased parts of their office. There may be changes to the environment that the client is in, okay? And that's a great reason to go, hey, I know you moved offices during COVID. I know you've downsized. I'd love to come out and have a look at the office. I know you've moved across the road. Let me come and have a look, okay? So a new office or changes to their office are a reason to go. That's a reason you give the client, if it's an existing client, of course. To update your workplace assessments. For those of you working in the temporary contract space, you're required to do an on-site workplace assessment if you've got temps on site. They'll all be out of date now, I guarantee. You're supposed to do them at a minimum 12 monthly, in some high-risk cases 6 monthly or sooner. So we haven't been out visiting clients unless you were lucky to get one in between those lockdowns. You may have updated your workplace assessments, but for most of us, they'll be out of date. 2 years out of date in some cases. If you have an accident, if your worker has an accident on site right now, your liability is open. You're at a higher risk at the moment. So get back out there. That's a great reason, and a great reason to go now. Go and do it now before it gets busy in the new year. Go and update your workplace assessments on all the client sites, even the ones where you haven't got temps working. If the temps are finished and they're not working, get ready for the next intake of temps. Next time you need one, Mr. Client, will be ready to go. Okay, so get your workplace assessment done. Think about going out to visit clients to present candidates. I do this in my rookie training. I train new recruiters to get into the habit of not emailing candidates to your client. Take them out. I know it sounds old-fashioned. It actually sounds really old school, I know. But while you have, at that point where the client's given you the job order, and you've searched and you've found candidates, or you've shortlisted down, or you've got somebody to present to them, there's a balance of power there at that point. You actually control the process at that point. As soon as you send the resume to the client, you've transferred the balance of power to the client. Now you're waiting for the client to come back to you. And some cases, we're waiting and we're waiting and we're waiting, right? So keep control of the process. Think about presenting your candidates to your client. Think about going out there and taking the details out, talking the client through. You might do it over the phone, perhaps, if you couldn't go out, but a visit's a great way to do that. I tell you, you will increase your conversions of referrals to interviews tenfold, hundredfold. We had 100% the last business that I worked at. When we started presenting clients with the candidates in person, so we take out 3 resumes, these 3 people are fantastic, the client would say, I'll see all 3. Because you're presenting them in real time. You're handling objections to those candidates in real time. You're answering any questions they may have, squashing any assumptions they make. And so they're more likely to say, yep, okay, let's go ahead. So I think it's important to think about that as an option, you know. So in the process, just make it, we just made it part of our process. We just told the clients, okay, great, you get us the job order now. On Tuesday, I'll be out there. Can you lock in your diary, 11 o'clock, I'll be out there to come out and bring the shortlist to you. If you just tell clients that's the process, they'll accept that. It's actually a value-added service if you think about it in that sense. Think about taking a new consultant. Is there someone new in your team? Are you a newbie? Those newbies that put their hand up, anytime any of the other consultants are going out, go with them. It's valuable, valuable experience. Go to every visit, even if it's not related to you. You're learning as you go. Okay, so taking a new consultant or being the new consultant taken on a visit, great reason to go. Deliver your Christmas thank yous. They're back, apparently. There was a few years that people stopped giving out Christmas things, I noticed, even before COVID. But I've noticed it's back. I've noticed people are starting to give. Has anyone got Christmas gifts they're giving clients? Have they organised, you know, little hampers or bottles of wine? Yeah, seeing a few nods there. They're back again. It's great. I love it. I know some clients can't accept them. I know you've got to keep them below a certain limit. I know there's some issues sometimes around accepting those kind of gifts. But think about delivering, you know, even a really nicely worded card is a really nice thing to get. Okay, but take it out. Say to the client, I want to catch up with you before the year's out, and just give them a thank you card if they can't accept a gift. Okay, so that's a really great reason to be going now. And I'm trying to make this as relevant now, not waiting necessarily. I know the title said get ready for 2022, but start doing the groundwork now. Try to get as many visits as you can now. Because if they say to you, oh, look, I'm really flat out busy, you could lock it in for January. You could have your whole diary booked out for January if you start working that now. Okay. And think about creating a talent strategy for them and present it to them. That's another great reason to be out there. Use data from their industry. Use market knowledge. We actually sometimes don't realize how much information we hold in our industry and our market. And you could put together something that's really simple but visually interesting and take that to the client and say, I thought you might like to see this in Ready for 2022. What's going on in your market? If some of your companies will produce documents like that or you know, reports to clients, take that out and present it to them. Don't email things out. Before the visit, I want to talk about this as pretty much the most critical point, and I think people overlook it. I think people get so excited about having a client visit to go to or getting a client to agree to a visit that they rush straight out and you know, are ready to go. And that's great. The energy of that is fantastic. But the preparation before the visit is really critical. Okay. It's really important. I know it sounds really obvious, but I know there are still many, many experienced recruiters that are checking the website of the company that they're visiting while they're sitting in reception. They're doing it. I'm sorry. Those of you willing to admit it, maybe not, right? They're sitting in reception of the company they're about to talk to and they're on their phone, Google searching the website at that point. Okay? Don't do that. That's rude. Okay? Do the research before you even get out of your office. Do the research as you make the visit. Find out more about the company. And I actually encourage you to do a Google search of the company, not check their website. Their website is what they want you to see about them. You want to find out as much about them as you can. So do a broader search. Check your database as well. Sometimes we overlook our own database. There may be history with your company and that organization. So do your preparation, do your research. Try to qualify the client before you even get there. All right? What kind of client is this likely to be? How do they work? Have they used agencies before? Have they had a good experience, a bad experience? You want to try and do as much of the qualification as you can. Some of that you're making assumptions about if you don't know. Otherwise, you'll need to ask that on the phone. I encourage new recruiters, as I said, in my training programs, to stay on the phone a little longer. I think sometimes we get a call and we maybe get a visit and then we just want to get off. It's like the scene of a crime. Hang up the phone. Woo, I want to celebrate. I've got a visit. But spend some more time on the phone and do part of your visit over the phone. Qualify the client as much as you can over the phone so you know what to get, you know what you're going to get into when you arrive. Okay. Think about this. I don't see many people do this, and it's a really simple one. Email text to reinforce your purpose before the meeting. Again, we're used to getting the meeting. We're excited about the meeting. You might send a reminder or something that says, look forward to meeting you, a nicey nice. I'm talking about starting to narrow the focus a little here. Starting to say to the client, look forward to speaking with you. These are the things we'll cover. Think about posing questions to them beforehand or even sending an agenda. Your competitors are not doing that. They're doing the nicey nice. Oh, I look forward to seeing you. Okay. You're going to differentiate yourself. You don't have to be all business. It's not about being, not having personality. You can have personality to that, but think about trying to move the client from what they consider to be kind of that initial phase of assessment. I'm not really sure if I'm buying, through to a decision before you even get in the room. That's what this is about. You're starting to provide the client information that makes them start going, okay, I'm moving along the buying journey. So by the time you get in the room with them, the sale is easier. The closing of the deal is easier. So what questions could you pose to clients? There's a million of them. I've started creating a really comprehensive list. So the person who asks me the best question today gets a copy of that list for free. All of the great questions I've collected over years and years and years. I've been in the industry 25 years. I speak to lots of recruiters every day. I add to that list all the time. So you'll get today's current version of it sent out to you for free of all the great questions to ask clients, okay? If you ask me a good question today. And set yourself a goal for the visit. I used to do this with the teams that recruited and worked for me. They couldn't book a client visit without telling me what the goal was, what the purpose was of that visit before they went. They had to know what their target was. Something small. Might be about, I want to find out how many people they hired this year. That's going to tell me how much of the market I got, how much of the piece of their pie did I get this year, because I'm going to compare that to what I recruited for them. I want to find out about what their target is for next year, or one piece of information that you need to find out from that visit and come back with it. And we used to, in fact, create a client visit matrix, which was just an Excel spreadsheet with every different reason, every different kind of question you could ask a client, every different purpose or goal you could have to a visit. And we'd tick them off one by one. So each client had a matrix. It's like bingo, There's all these different reasons you could go and see a client, and we literally tick them off as we visited the client over and over again. Okay, so set yourself a goal for the visit, every visit before you go. Even if it's a client you've dealt with for some time, there's still things you don't know about them. There still could be a reason for you to get out there. All right, I'm going to give you some hot tips. When you see the red chili, that's me giving you a hot tip through this session. That's new, Tony. Do you like that? The hot chili tips. All right, every so often I'm going to give you a hot tip at the point in the session. Visit at their site is my hot tip. What I mean by that is try and avoid the temptation to go to the coffee shop. Try to avoid the temptation to meet at a neutral site. I know sometimes that's not always possible, but try where possible, wherever you can, to go to the site and get a tour of their place, of the office, of the factory, of the warehouse, whatever it might be. Okay, it's much more powerful. You'll get a much greater insight into the client. You'll see the culture. You might meet some other people. You'll be seen on site as well. Okay, try not to, as I said, just meet. If you meet them off site, you're only getting the person, not the whole company. Does that make sense? By meeting them on site, you get a much better impression of the organization and the person you're meeting with. So that would be my little hot tip. Try and please go to the site. Set an agenda, as I said, either sent to them beforehand. This is what we intend to discuss. This is what you're calling me about. This is why I'm coming out to visit you. You may send that to them beforehand. If that's not appropriate or you haven't got an agenda to send through to them beforehand, you need to have your own agenda. You need to have it set out. What are you, as I said, intending to find out from them or from that visit? It needs to be a productive agenda that's going to help you advance the relationship with that client. Now, when I say this, sometimes people are uncomfortable. They kind of go, oh, an agenda. It sounds kind of manipulative, you know, or have an agenda about them. What I'm saying here is it's great to have relationships or conversations that just build the relationship. Sometimes you're actually just going out there to build the relationship, make contact with the person and get to know them a bit better. That's fine. That's okay to do that. I'm not saying that that's a bad client visit, but I'm saying if that's all you're doing time and time again, you're not being strategic about advancing the relationship. So if you perpetually, I had recruiters who worked for me that would just go for coffee and coffee and coffee and coffee. And I'd be like, what's happening with the client relationship? Are you being strategic and thinking about the relationship's here and I want it to be here? I don't have exclusivity on the roles. I give it to everyone and I'd like the next role to be exclusive. How am I going to get it to that? Something like that, right? So it's some sort of an agenda for yourself in that relationship. What can you offer of value to the client? Some of you have great salary surveys and industry reports, and you know you're producing some great content that's outside of the straight transactional relationship of recruitment. So could you offer this as extra value? Take this stuff out, deliver this stuff, provide this extra value. As I said, some of it might just even be in your head. What do you know about their industry and the market? And I'll tell you, it's lots. Even those of you that have been in the industry less than 12 months, you already know more about the job market in your client industry than they do. Because that's not their focus. Think about it. They're running their company, they're running their team. You already, with 12 months experience, know more. Because that's all you've done for 12 months is look at the job market. You've just been focused in one direction. Unpack their issues. If your agenda is, I want to find out all of the problem points. I want to find out all of my clients' pain. I want to know all of the things that keep them up at night. Okay? Unpack it all and let them offload. You'll find out so many great tidbits of information while they do that. Okay? That's a great agenda item as well. Plan a strategic solution. If you already know the answer to their issues, if you already understand what that, and look, you know, overarchingly in every market right now, you can say, there's not enough candidates, right? There's a talent shortage in it's across every industry, okay? So what are you going to do to solve it? That's what the client wants to know. They don't want to hear that you've been in the industry, you know, company's been around for 20 years and you've done this and you've got that. They want to know, how are you going to solve their problem? And if you can't come up with something new, something that might work, that's worth a try, that's a little different, that's going to work because you're going to work on it more exclusively or harder than anyone else, whatever it might be. If you don't have a solution, why would they use you? Why would they use you over your competitor? Why would they use any of you at all? Okay. So what can you do and offer the client that will help them start to think about other options? And set them up for the next 12 months. Talk to them about what's going on in the market. Again, you know more than they do. In some of your spaces, the job market will start to ease in the new year. In other areas, it won't. So how are you going to respond to these things? Can they look at less experienced people, grads, whatever the solutions might be? Sit down and brainstorm that. You've already been doing it in your businesses, in your recruitment agencies. Now start planning that with the client and really locking them into you. So there's many more you could set around these. I've just tried to give some ideas to get you start thinking about making sure you've got an agenda before you get out to visit the client. That is really critical in this current market. All right, another hot tip. This is a weird one. Shake hands if they're comfortable. Shake hands if they're comfortable. This seems like such a simple one. Can I just tell you, and some people may disagree with me on this, but shaking someone's hand is a very valuable element of progressing a business relationship. In fact, probably any relationship, actually. Let me tell you why. When we meet, and if we're in the same room, I'll demonstrate this. I get somebody to stand up next to me and I'll show you this. But when we meet or when we talk to somebody, there is a level of comfort around your body, right? Your body space. Each of us have it. A circle around us, that's our own comfortable space. And if somebody steps into that space or stands too long, then we're uncomfortable. If it's somebody we don't know, you know, if it's your partner or someone you care about, you let them into that space very easily. It doesn't feel uncomfortable. But when you meet a new business contact, right, you stay outside each other's spaces. That's natural and normal. The handshake allows you to enter into somebody's personal space and make a connection with them for a few seconds. That's perfectly legal, not uncomfortable, and will actually help bridge the relationship. I know it sounds a bit kind of touchy-feely, literally, but I'm telling you now, if person is happy, and you have to ask, that's all I do. You know, are you happy to shake hands? Are we shaking hands? Something simple like that. And the person will go, yeah, sure. Shake hands. What you do, notice that next time now I've said this to you, you step into their personal space in that second that you do it. You just shake hands, you make really good eye contact, and you step away. As humans, it's a very powerful tool. I can't stress that one enough. So shake hands if they're comfortable too, of course. I hate the elbow bump and the, you know, but anyway, we're stuck with it. Elbow bump's actually not too bad. You also have to step further into their space to do it, but you don't get the eye contact that you do in a handshake. Okay. And all the rules apply around handshakes. Don't make it wet and limp, you know, make sure your hand's not sweaty, all of those obvious things that you guys know, ladies in particular. Okay. I want to stress this to you. A handshake is a handshake no matter what gender you are. All right. I don't want to have any ladies' handshakes. All right. The man's not going to kiss, or the person's not going to kiss your hand. All right. So not like this. All right. Straight down, normal handshake. And have some great questions prepared. That's going to make your client visit interesting. That's going to set you apart from your competitors. Prepare the questions you're going to ask the client. Yes, you might be taking a job brief and you're going to ask those questions about the job. I understand that. But what other interesting questions can you ask? And as I said, I've got a comprehensive list. So those of you asking, getting your questions ready, ask away, you're going to get that copy. I want you to set expectations early with the client. And when I say early, I'm saying, you know, in the visit, you want to make sure you're setting up yourself to have a great relationship with that client ongoing. You don't want to be like this girl, kind of hoping for the best, okay? Recap your understanding of their needs. This seems like a simple one again. This is about whether you listened, right? That's how they teach you to listen, right? Listening training, active listening training is go back and recap what the person said. See if you really listened. I'm saying you should do that in the video, in the client visit face-to-face, but even post the visit. We used to do this when I started in recruitment. I started with an exec firm, and they would do a document that was our understanding of your needs, right? We would come back from the client visit and we would type out, it was pages and pages of what we understood the client was about and the job or whatever the needs were, and send it back to them. Don't need to put it in so much detail now, but think about recapping that. It shows them that you really listened. It also allows them to correct anything if you did get it wrong. Sometimes we don't hear it the same way, okay? Get agreement on the negotiables. Know upfront where they're not going to negotiate. Know upfront where they will negotiate. How will you know that? You have to ask. You have to ask the client. This is a tough market. What are the negotiables? What are you willing to have some gray on? What are you willing to go 80% instead of 100% on? You have to ask those questions. You have to know them up front about the relationship, about the terms, about the candidates, about the brief, whatever it might be. Where is the client going to negotiate? Really critical to know that. Consult and give market advice and data, please. Please know that you're consultants in this industry. It's called recruitment consulting. There's a reason for that. It's not called recruitment transacting. That's for a reason, okay? So please consult. Think about, what can I give the client? Think about every interaction with the client. They should walk away better educated, know more, learn more. They should walk away from you saying that was a valuable interaction. In fact, I like to try to do that with everybody I meet, candidates as well. What can you give? There's so much stuff you've got. I promise you, in your brain, you've got valuable information that's free to them, from you to give to them, okay? As well as what your company is producing. Set a timeline and gain commitment early. Do not send resumes to clients without a commitment on the timeline. You're only setting yourself up for ghosting. When will you see my candidate? When will you get back to me? Make sure they make the commitment. It allows you to hold them to it. I know they won't always stick to it. Get the commitment up front where you can. I ideally get them to lock in a time slot in their diary to see your candidate. Stick to your timeline, that should say. It says you timeline. Stick to your timeline, okay? So if you've said you're going to get back to them, you absolutely have to. I'm going to come back to you at this date, and make sure you over, under promise, over deliver on that, please. That's a credibility and trust interaction there. If you say you're going to call, you say you're going to send a resume, you'll say you're going to get back to them about something, don't miss that deadline, whatever you do, even if it's to say, I need a little bit more time. If you miss the deadline, you break the trust. So once you commit to something, you need to stick to it, and you need to make sure that you're following through. Post-visit, I'm going to talk about post-visit in more detail in a minute, but post any interaction with the client, you should be having a follow-up afterwards. That might be another visit, that might be a phone call, might be a text, might be an email, some interaction at every opportunity post contact with the client. Okay? And I just want to stress this because there are some newbies on the call. You need to make sure you're valuing your service. If you don't value your service and expertise, as I said, this whole consulting piece, how will your client? If you don't think what you do is very valuable, you will always be discounting your price. You will always be on the back foot. You will always be chasing clients that ghost you because you don't think you're worth it. So first and foremost, you have to understand the very valuable service we provide as recruitment consultants, and then you need to make sure that that comes across with the client. Okay? Price and value equation, yeah, is if you're getting price objections, you haven't answered the value piece. But I just want to stress that to you, as I said, because there are some newbies on the call. Improve the fillability. I'm going off a little tangent here, but because I've got you, I'm giving you a bit of call this bonus content. All right, this isn't directly related to topic on client visits, but it is relevant in terms of you having better relationships with your clients. How will your client communicate with you? How do they wish to be contacted? Maybe they're out on site and they don't read their emails. Don't send them emails. Maybe text message is an easier way to reach them. Maybe it's going to be quicker. Okay, maybe they want the detail of an email and a text message seems rude to them. Understand that. You'll only know that by asking, how would you like me to communicate with you through this process or through our relationship? How many steps are in the decision-making process? Ask that up front, please. How many steps in the decision-making process? How many people have to touch this before it's going to be done? Helps you manage candidate expectations at your own, yeah? Do they have the realistic salary expectations? Now, I say realistic salary expectations in this market. Actually, they probably do have realistic salary expectations and your candidates don't now, right? But you have to manage that. That's your job. You're the broker in the middle there. So consult about that. With other clients, we're seeing this. Of the candidates I'm interviewing, I'm hearing this. This is what they're looking for. Are you willing to negotiate on that? What if I find you the absolute ideal candidate? They want 20,000 more. What's your position on that? Propose those scenarios to them. They're like behavioral-based questions for your clients. What would you do in this scenario? Okay, pose that to your clients and get those answers. How will they onboard remotely if they need to? This is probably not as critical as it has been through lockdown, but who knows if we're going to have another one. We don't want the whole process to go smoothly and then there's some sort of lockdown or restriction and the client says, oh, we can't hire the person. Oh, we just put it off. We'll put it off till we're back in the office, all right? Get them to understand now early what's going to happen if they have to onboard remotely or as the person's going to work in a hybrid fashion. And the final thing I want to say about if you refer a candidate for a job, You need to influence and persuade. So every candidate you've referred for a job, you've referred for a reason. I know that because you're good at what you do. You didn't just wake up and go, oh, here's a resume. I'll just send that one off. Okay, you didn't do it randomly. You did it for a very specific reason, and you put a lot of thought and sometimes a lot of effort into that. So don't let the client dismiss your candidate so quickly. In this current market, if you are finding a candidate you think is relevant, even if they're 80%ers, you need to push hard with the client. Don't let them get away with, they're not quite right. And I've got some objections here that clients say to us. So I'm going to give you this as a little added bonus too. The meaning of client feedback. Let me tell you these ones. If a client says to you that candidate's not a culture fit, I want you to ask this question. What attributes of the culture are they referring to, and how did they measure that in the interview? So the client says to you, that candidate, I just don't think they're a fit. I don't think they're going to fit into our culture, our team. Okay, what elements of your culture are you talking about there? What do you mean by that? And how did you assess that in the interview? If they don't have an answer for those two questions, then they're just being discriminatory, actually. They're not telling you the truth there. They're not telling you the real reason. And that's what happens most of the time, right? They just didn't like the person, or they are being outright racist or ageist or whatever it might be, but they're not going to tell you that. So they say it doesn't fit. And we accept that. I've seen many recruiters do that. Oh, yeah, I sent that person, but they said they weren't a fit. What does that mean? How did they assess if they weren't a fit? They met them for 1 hour. What questions did they ask them that made them think that they couldn't fit? You can't know that unless they specifically said something that was a complete contradiction to the culture of the organization. So find that one out. Not enough experience. Value and quality of experience is more relevant than time in the job. Have you given detail about the candidate's experience, not the quantity of it? So if they say, oh, he's only been there for 12 months, not sure. You need to counteract that with the depth of experience the candidate has. And you'll only know that if you've interviewed the candidate properly. So you need to be doing detailed candidate interviews, get examples from candidates about their experience so you can counteract that one. They didn't interview very well. That happens. Look, it happens sometimes. Sometimes it's not your fault, but have you prepped the candidate and how can you change this? If you're not spending time prepping your candidates, then you're doing a disservice to our name as recruiters and you're doing a disservice to your candidates. Okay? Prep your candidate every time for every job. Tell them who they're meeting, what to expect, what questions are going to be asked, what the environment's like, how they should perform, what kind of answers they might give, what was their best examples that they gave with you, all of that stuff. You've got very valuable information you need to pass to the candidate to help them get the job. And I didn't feel confident in X. If the client says, oh, I didn't feel confident that they could do this, they're making an assumption. You've got to uncover the unconscious bias or the assumptive discrimination there. Again, what did you mean by that? What were you not comfortable they could do, and what led you to that decision? Why did you think that was the case? What did they say or do that made you feel that way? If you have taken the time to refer a candidate in this market, you did it for a bloody good reason, and I don't want you to back off with these broad answers from the client, all right? So that was the bonus content. I know I'm over time. I'm going to try and wrap up as quickly as I can here. Post-visit, follow up promptly. When you're coming out of the client visit, follow up with them. If you've got an action item you need to action, follow up, stick to your commitment, your time commitment. Send an email summarizing the meeting. This is what happened. This is what we said. This is the question. This is my understanding of your needs. This is what we can do. A nice email that's got some meat to it. Not, it was really nice to meet you. Thanks for your time. I look forward to seeing you again. All right. I don't want to see broad ones like that. Something that could only be sent because you were in the room and you were present and you were listening. That's where the client's going to go, this person's different. Okay. Make an action for the next visit. Set the date. Set the date of when you're going to see them next. Start planting that seed in their head really early. I'm going to make a time, if you can make a time with them, make the next visit. Okay. And then add them to your marketing campaigns. What I mean by that is if you've got programs internally in your agency where clients get sent information, blogs, whatever it might be, put them into the engine room of that. Okay. Because in between your visits, then they're seeing your brand, they're seeing your name. important. Okay, so don't forget to do that piece. If you've got there's some fantastic tools out there that people are using. So make sure you're adding them into those marketing campaigns. Okay. Better client management. So managing your client better starts with this, and this is a one-page summary of another whole course I do, which is about how to manage your clients better. Okay, that's another whole session. Maybe we run that one separately, Tony, on another event. But this is just a quick condensed version of that. Identify ideal clients. Who are your ideal clients? Think about that now. Who are the clients that you like working with, that love working with you? Work with more clients like that. It's simple. But identify what are the key characteristics of those clients and duplicate that. Okay. Train and educate your clients. They're actually paying for the placement, yes, but that comes with a whole lot of consulting service as well. So train them in the way you want them to work with you, communicate with you, deal with you, educate them about the market, use that data, use all of those salary surveys and tools and things that you have, okay? Hold a professional standard, value your service, demand that respect. If you allow them to treat you like that, then that's your fault, not theirs. And reject or fire clients. Now has never been an easier time to do that. In tough market, it's hard to do that because we're kind of like scrounging and we want to take on any job. If you have, part of my language here, if you have a shit client that treats you like shit, get rid of them now. Get rid of them politely. Not going to be able to assist you this time round, haven't got what you need, or you seem to take a really long time. It's really difficult in this market. I'm going to have to let you know I can't find you what you want. Fire your clients politely now. Now's the best chance to do it, okay? And set yourself up for working with more of the right clients, okay? And the foundation of a solid relationship, I've got some key words there. It's about building trust. It's about good communication, two-way communication, not one way. And strong communication is not on an email. Think about this about email. Email, electronic mail. So that is the equivalent of me ringing you and saying, I'd like you to do something for me. And you write a letter and you put it in the post. I know it's faster and we're not doing that. I get it. Emails are immediate, but it's still mail. Why has the email replaced a phone conversation? I don't understand that. Pick up the phone, okay? So two-way communication. Good relationships are built on respect, mutual respect between parties, sharing of information, sharing of stories, sharing of shared experiences. That's what makes good relationships. Have you heard that? When people go through like some sort of trauma, they have like a bonded relationship. That comes from that sharing. And good relationships are based on equality. If you have clients that aren't treating you as you should be treated as an equal, fire them now, as I said. All right, I think this is my final hot tip. Mastering client visits takes practice. It does, like most things, okay? It takes practice to get really good at mastering a client visit and understanding all of the nuances, taking and putting into practice what we've shared today. So I want you to get back out there now. Get the jump on your competitors. You've still got the whole month of December for this year, for this quarter. Get that jump on it now. Start trying to book them if they won't see you for the silly season. Book it in January, book it in February when they're back. When are you back from leave? Let's try and catch up at the end of that week, okay? But that's my advice to you. That's my final tip. Get back out there now. All right, that's it from me. Follow me on LinkedIn. I've put my LinkedIn page there. So if you search me and find me, those of you that aren't following with me or connecting with me, can you please feel free to do that after the session. If you do that and connect with me after this session and mention Consultants Table, I've got a free planning resource. So I've got a resource that will allow you to do parts of what I've said today, kind of like a template, basically, to outline what I've covered off today. And I'll send that to you if you connect with me after this session. Thanks so much for your time, everybody. I'll jump into questions if we've got time, Tony.
Yes, very good, Adele. So much good stuff there. I actually admit, for those of you that can just hang around a bit longer, I've got to admit that I've really enjoyed using Zoom instead of going to face-to-face meetings. And I wasn't totally sold on the get back to face-to-face until you talked about distractions. And then I realized that actually you really can't check what the other person's doing, whether they're taking in everything that you're talking about, and you can't really read them properly if you're doing it over video, but you've got their 100% attention when you're face-to-face. So for me, that was really compelling. We do have some good questions that came in. First of all, Jeff Slade made some good comments. And those of you that have made the effort to attend Adele's session today, here's Jeff Slade, who has got more years in the industry than anyone I've ever met in my years in the industry, and still comes to meetings like this to learn and to gain knowledge and to share knowledge. Really, really appreciate you being here, Jeff. Jeff's comment was consultants need to understand that you only get one chance to make a first impression. So talking to the client about what's important to them is the only way you'll get to know them as a person. You're not just there to try and pick up a job on that day or to sell them something. So yeah, brilliant pearl of wisdom there from Jeff, wouldn't you say, Adele?
Oh, absolutely. Jeff is called the godfather of recruitment for a very good reason. And he's seen everything and done everything, but he still continues to want to learn. And he's absolutely right. He's stood the test of time because of those relationships that he built. So yeah, great advice. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, no, really, really good. And look, a couple of quick questions for those that can hang around a bit. We've got some time, and we are going to send everyone a copy of the presentation and a copy of the recording. So a couple of things, Adele, for you that came through. What about candidates? We've talked about clients face-to-face. A question came through about how important is it to see candidates face-to-face?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And again, it's all about that time cost equation of how quick you can get through things. And I think it's really easy to just jump on a quick video session with them and can see as many candidates as you like. And look, it does depend on your market. In some markets, that's perfectly acceptable. You may be working in perhaps labour hire or something that might be a little more transactional, and it's perfectly fine. But if you're trying to build, again, a deep relationship, if you want candidate exclusivity, if you want a candidate to trust you and work with you, then you're going to need to apply those same principles. It's about building a relationship. So again, start getting candidates back in, please. You know, start inviting them back in. You've got the offices, you've got the space. You know, the business owners will be going, oh my God, I'm paying this rent for these meeting rooms. Please use them. So go ahead and start inviting people back in face to face and stop the habit.
What if a candidate says they want to come to your house?
Who asked that one? I love it.
I guess we know the answer to that one. Here's another one for you. What if the client says they prefer to use Zoom for the meeting? What do you say to them?
Yeah, a lot of them will. A lot of them, I know that's going to be an obvious objection that they will. And again, it just depends on how far along the relationship is, or is it the first visit? Is it what's the purpose of the meeting? So you're going to have a compelling reason to need to get in, and go back and check that slide where I've talked about some of the reasons to go and visit them, and come up with something like that. Listen, I understand it might save a bit of time, but it's really critical because I need to go through the candidate the resumes I've got for you, or I really need to have a look at your site again because I haven't been there to do my site inspection. So just give a reason why you need to, or just say, I actually really prefer. I know you would prefer it on Zoom. I prefer it face to face. We're trying to get back out again and reconnect with people in a more positive way. I really hope you can honor this for me. So
I think so. And it goes back to what you said about it's important if you've got contractors or temps to be on client side on a regular basis to check that, hey, at the very least, it's a safe working environment for your candidates, which you really are the employer of.
Absolutely, correct.
And one more before we finish up, unless anyone else wants to type in some more. I've got another one here for you. You said take out to junior consultant or a new consultant on a meeting. What about take the MD or the CEO with you on a client visit? What about that?
Love it. Yes, most owners will love that. But Jeff is here. Most of them will love to go on and reconnect with clients. Some of them they may have met early on, some they've never met. So yeah, absolutely take out the owners or your managers. The other way as well. Go up and down the line and take other people with you as a great reason. I love that.
And great to build relationships with senior people in your own company, and for them to get a good idea of what's happening in the market. So when you go back and say this is happening, they can see it for real what's happening in the marketplace as well. So
I tell you, there's nothing that makes a client feel more important than when the owner or the MD comes out and tells the story. It's really powerful.
I think so, for sure. Adele, look, we might leave it there so everyone can get back to lunch or whatever they're on to now. And look, those of you that have joined us today, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. We know you're busy. We know there's lots going on. And hope you've enjoyed the series throughout the year. Once a month, we have Consultants Table. And Adele has already put her hand up to present next year and provide you with really good, compelling content. And as you can see, it's hugely valuable. And if you have any more questions for Adele, her contact details will be sent to you. And feel free to interact with her face-to-face. Thanks to all our supporters who I mentioned before as well. Adele, thanks for all the effort you put into this presentation. Everyone you do is unique, and I know you think about it a lot, and you think about how to share as much as you can about all your secrets on being a great recruiter. So thank you very much, and thanks everyone very much for being with us today.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Tony. And if I didn't get to your question,
thank you.